So just a quick little update on a couple of things. There's nothing that you can't do without the updates. This platform is fully functional. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. You may have previous designs that need to be tweaked, that need to be changed. There may be things that only functioned in Flash in your previous designs that will not function in HTML5. That's very, very unlikely, but there will be some tweaking. If you got to move an element around or something like that, then that may happen. But the program itself is completely functional. There's nothing that does not work on the platform. Okay, and the next thing is that the Usign sessions is today. It's normally on Thursday, but it's today, and it's immediately following this webinar. The link to that is right here. Let me grab that link. And I can't copy that, crud. Let's see here. There we go. I'll copy that link, drop it in here for you. And that's the link to join the sessions that is happening today. Prior to this, it was on Thursday, but that's just for today. It has been moved to today instead of yesterday, okay? And that sessions time is the time with Bertrand where he kind of either interviews one of our partners or he lays out the vision. Last week was laying out the vision for the company. And I think that was really helpful. Those of you who want to watch that, I'll give you the link to that in just a minute. But that can be good for you to know kind of where the company's going and how we're going to get from here to there. Okay. The next thing is, I just love this. Elle, if she's on, if she's not on, I'm going to talk about her anyhow. But Elle has been asking for a long time to be able to create a metallic look to her logo, and we didn't have an easy way to do the metallics. So now with the blend tool that we've added to the platform, we have the ability to do these amazing metallics, and that looks so good. Now, I understand why Elle was so insistent on being able to do metallics. Do you not just think that's an amazing looking, my mind just went blank, an amazing looking logo? The extra sessions are simply about Bertrand. That's a session with Bertrand where he has a 1 hour gig and interviews one of our partners, interviews one of our developers or one of our team members, and or shares the vision for the company. That was last week, so that's what that whole thing's about. Okay. But Elle's done an amazing job with this. I can see why she was so excited and wanted a metallic for so long. And now this metallic is so simple to create, it isn't even funny. I have put the entire training for that from last week into the group. So that entire replay is available inside of the group, as well as I did 1 or 2 really, really short videos on how to use the same thing that you use to accomplish this, which Elle has done here. Just an amazing capability on the tool now using the blend tool. This is literally took 3 mouse clicks to turn her logo into a metallic like she wanted here. And then we have Patrick has done a couple of really cool little things with exactly the same thing. We did reflections a couple of weeks ago, and he took the reflections training and applied it to this particular picture using the blend tool, and it looks just awesome. He has a whole bunch of these down below. I've showed you this without showing you all the rest of them so that you can go find that in the group and you'll be able to see the other things that he did with this. Really, really good job, Patrick. And so we appreciate you taking the time to share those in our group. And then Elle took the training from the blend tool, and she did this, which I just thought was amazing. She did a really nice job, used a little bit different technique and split this image in half, applied the blend tool to one half of it, not to the other half of it, did a slight resize, totally changed the look. And I just thought that was amazing. So I wanted to give them a shout out because they have done the one thing that I encourage you to do all the time. And that is when you get the training on Friday, whatever that thing is that we do the thing. The quicker that you do the thing, the quicker you develop the skills. Don't be a fan, be a follower. And the very first thing that a follower does is says, oh, let me try that. And I even have some of you try it while I'm on the webinar. And that's okay. If you can pay attention to two things at once, that's really cool. But do the thing. If you will learn to do the thing, then it makes all the difference in the world. Don't wait for the replay. Stumble your way through it the best you can, because the replay, what you'll do is you'll mimic every single step and you'll get exactly the same result. You need to mimic the skills. And mimicking the skills will give you the ability to create any result. Does that make sense to everybody? Very important to do the thing. Because if you do that, it'll be awesome. All right. Now, this is the sessions. This was from last week, and it is the Bertrand talking about his vision for 2021. I would highly encourage you to take a look at that so you can kind of get an idea where the company has been and where we're going. All right. Yes, Michael, if you don't practice, you're going to miss out. And then you become simply, you're not an artist, you're just a mechanic, and you're following somebody else's instruction, and you'll miss out when you do that. This is all about you understanding why we do some things, and the quicker you practice the why, the easier it will be for you to master the how. Okay. Now, one thing, I went back through the, as I always do, I went back through the comments in the chat, and I always do that. And as I was going back through the comments in the chat, I noticed something that was slightly confusing. And so I will talk about it at some point today if I don't run out of time, because we're a little bit constrained by time today. And if we do, I'll talk about it again later. But I talked about image modification. And that was just how I modified this image, and I showed you some steps involved in that. We made this section right over here kind of disappear, and we did some really interesting things with this image modification. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I had some questions about where's the image modification tool, and I realized that by giving it this heading right here, it made people think that that was a tool that was somewhere on the platform. And I don't want you to think it's a tool on the platform. It's simply the platform using the tools that are available there. So we may play with another image today just a little bit if we have time. If we don't have time, I did at least want to make sure that we had the clarification about that. Okay. Now, what we're going to do today is, and I've already posted it in the group, and Don caught my reference, and we're going to talk a little bit about the and you'll see it in the webinar, that the sessions webinar from last week, when Bertrand talked about when he developed the magic design formula. And we did a number of webinars based upon the magic design formula, and we bring that up quite frequently. But drilling down into the magic design components is kind of what's led us to where we are today. And this is so important. These four things have to be present in order for a design to be effective. The background is necessary. And so we'll talk about backgrounds today, because backgrounds are so necessary. We've already seen what Elle did with the logo, and so we can talk about logos just a little bit. But the tagline becomes really important, and so does the product. These four elements are what makes a design work. It's what makes a design special. It's what makes a design do the things that a design was intended to do, and that's lead people to another action. All right, it's not intended to entertain people. Well, sometimes they are, but mostly not intended to entertain. It's mostly to lead them to take some kind of an action. And so it's really important that you understand how important these four components are in making a design work. It has to be hung on a background. You can't just hang it out in space. And in fact, I'll show you a little illustration of that in a minute. It needs to have a logo. The logo doesn't have to be very prominent. I have people all the time asking me, how can I put my logo on every page? Do you really need to? It's not necessary that you put your logo everywhere, but it is necessary that you tag it someplace. And you can make it kind of inconspicuous if you want to, but it's important to have it. It doesn't have to be real prominent. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing on the page, but because the tagline is the thing that causes people to take action. We changed this webinar to the You Can Make It webinar. Talk about that more in just a little bit. We changed this to You Can Make It webinar. It's about Usign, and we have a Usign logo, but the You Can Make It has become our tagline, and it's really kind of the passion that we have, and it comes out in everything else that we do, okay? And it's all about teaching you how to make it, whatever make it is. If it make it is focused on a design, then we have that. If it's focused on a logo, then we have that. If it's focused on getting people's attention on your web space or in your social media posts, then we can help you to accomplish that. If it's building t-shirts, then we can help you to accomplish that. So that You Can Make It tagline became really important for what we do. And then the product itself. The product is where the value gets exchanged. If somebody buys a product, then buying that product is where the value exchange takes place. And so without the product exchange, then we don't have too much that we can do other than just entertain and demonstrate our skills, okay? So with this first piece in mind, the background, we're going to talk about some of the background updates. And I'll give you an example of that. I just typed in under Pixabay NASA and got a whole bunch of really cool looking, awesome images from NASA. And I thought they were pretty cool. I'm sorry, my friend, if you make comments that are not in English, I can't respond. I only speak 2 languages, English and bad hillbilly, and that's all I speak. So I'm sorry, I don't even know how to respond to that, but I will, I'll do my best in my clearest version of hillbilly. But the NASA images are amazing. I'm going to show you what you can do with those. Got some little tricks I'm going to show you, and I think you'll find them quite fascinating, okay? For that background piece, because the background piece is really important, as is that logo, and we'll show you that with Elle's modification of her logo in just a little bit. And then down here, we'll take this t-shirt. I want to show you how you can make that product display on the background in a way that makes sense. I put this on a blue background because if I put it on a white background, then obviously this t-shirt over here and this t-shirt over here would disappear. Not sure about the sweepstakes. The best bonus you get out of this, you get to listen to me for an hour. That's the best bonus that there is. So this t-shirt right here, I just used the shadow tool and made it stand out from this. Now I've made this darker than I would normally do, but instead of just having a flat image by adding a shadow, and I'll show you a trick with adding that shadow that will really make a difference, okay? There's a really slick little trick that you do here that makes this t-shirt stand out. Now, keep in mind, I have made this darker so that you all can see it. And normally I would make that pretty faint and it wouldn't be quite as obvious, but there is, there's a really simple way to do this. And I'll show you what that is in just a little bit. We want to talk about, just briefly today, I'm going to talk about these print on demand companies. And we've taken this, You Can Make It. This has been around for a little while, but each time that it comes up, I try to give you another little piece with that whole merchandise capability. And today we'll talk just a little bit about, and we'll talk just a little bit about using those print on demand companies. Okay. All right, any questions before we jump out of here and get on the canvas? Y'all understand where we're going today? and how we're going to get there. I had made the comment in the group that we were going to boldly go where no one has gone before, which was a veiled reference to the space program right here. Okay, great question, Damon. Darren, we will definitely do that. I'll do that just for you. Okay. So let's jump over here. I'm going to go to the space program. Let's take a look at this. All I did, we have several places where you can get backgrounds. All right. Over here under the background tool, I have tons of texture images that have been added. And I mean all kinds of these texture photos that are, I'm sorry, the background photos that have been added. We go back to our originals down here, closer to the bottom, and a whole bunch of new things have been added here. These are just color versions. And then you also have these textures, and some of these textures are just amazing. And I'm sorry, I was in the wrong spot. Some of these textures, this is what I was looking for. Some of these textures are just amazing. And we played with this one Friday, and we took these and we created all kinds of interesting things with this. But you can see what happens. I have to hang my image on something. Now, remember this. If I hang my image, I wanted to make sure I didn't have anything behind that. If I hang my image on a background, it's really important that I don't let the background obscure what I'm putting on top of this. So if my tagline is, I'm going to grab a text piece right here. So this is the text line right here. If I want to edit this, the moment that I double click it to edit it, my menu bar disappears over here because I'm now going to edit this text. Okay? So I want to help you with this, Darren. I can type. Simple makes awesome easy. That is my tagline. And so let me get rid of that. Now, there's not going to be a good color for me to create this in. I've clicked off of the text, Darren, and I click back on it. Now you notice this menu appears over here. If I make that color white, it shows up pretty good on that background. Shows up pretty good on that background, okay? But if I really want to make it stand out, then I've got some options of what I can do. But before I do that, this is my tagline, so I don't want it to be the most prominent thing in the design. Understand? So I'm going to make it smaller. The way I make it smaller is I don't grab these corners anymore and try to drag this around and resize these. What I do instead is, in this case, notice this little keyboard shortcuts right here. It tells me exactly what I can do to modify my text fields. All right. So I have the option right here being able to modify my text fields using a keyboard shortcut. Do you all see that? That seems to create a lot of confusion for people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this smaller. And I'm holding down the command key because I'm on a Mac. I hold down the command key. Chrome can be, I'm going to answer Darren's question as we go, just to make sure that I don't miss anything in the process of this. Sometimes some people will have something that's pretty broad and vague, I understand, in Chrome that is making their text act wanky. Now, there'll be 80% of the people on this call right now will tell you that they're using Chrome and they have no issue with it whatsoever. There'll be some people that do. Nope, keyboard shortcuts always work. When people say it doesn't work for me, it does work for you. You're just not doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. It's always a process issue. If it didn't work, it wouldn't work for anybody. Okay, just keep that in mind. That's always going to be true on a SaaS platform. Unless you are using something inside, like I'm just about to say, in Chrome, where there is an issue with Chrome rendering the text properly. Chrome's started to be really fussy about the time that that flash got dropped. You don't shift with the shortcut to change your stuff. You use Command or Control depending upon what you're using. Okay, and I use, and always illustrated here. See, down here is a Shift key, but none of this stuff up here has anything to do with the Shift key. Okay. We're not going to agree that any platform is bug-free. I don't use Firefox. I use Brave. It's the only platform that you'll see me using. It's the only one I've used since December. That's what I say. You may have something. It's sometimes something someplace that somebody has. That's the best way I know to explain that. Is somewhere, sometime, someplace, somebody might have something that's going on inside their browser that is really, really difficult for us to track down. And Paul's made that comment, not quite as dramatic as I did, but that's always an issue, is that there's something that's going on inside that browser. The easiest way to isolate that is to switch to a different browser. The best browser to switch to is a browser called Brave, because Brave is one of those stripped down models of a browser, and it works really well. I've never had an issue since I started using Brave. So when I select this text, I can, holding down my Command key, because I'm on a Mac, and hold down my Command key, and I can make this smaller. When I make it smaller, do you notice what happens with the background? Yes, Lucy Brave. Now, it's smaller, but what happens to it? Does it blend into the background? Y'all with me? And then I resize my container by using the left and right arrow key. Use the up and down arrow key to change the size of my text, and the left and right key. When I click out of it, that text menu goes away. When I double click back inside of it and go to edit, that menu goes away. Everybody's got to remember those steps, okay? And so it's getting lost in this background. Wherever I put it, it's going to get lost in that background. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to reduce the opacity of my background, because that was too bold. So when we talk about hanging your information, I'm just going to use it that way, whatever it is that you're going to put on it, whether it's a product or whatever else it is, you can reduce the opacity, and that will make a difference. In this case, I've just reduced the opacity. I kind of like 80% on my opacity reduction. That makes a difference. There's several things I can do to the text. One of the things that I can't do as of now, we used to just put a border around the outside of it. Borders are really becoming a thing of the past anyhow. So keep that in mind. Part of that's because Flash has gone away, is the reason why the design also often follows capabilities. So just keep that in mind as we go. Okay. So I got a couple of options of what I can do. One of those is I can go over here and I can grab a vector image. I can put a shape behind it. That's one option to keep it from getting lost in that busy background, because that's a busy background. So we'll make this big enough that it fits inside of there, like that. Thank you, Joy. Now, I'm going to move this backwards, and all I have to do is send it backward one time, and then I have to kind of reposition it so it fits. Now, that's not a very good color to have on that background, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to use my color picker tool, I'll select my color picker tool. It's going to now go into color picker mode. Okay. And when it goes into color picker mode, I can now come over here and I'm going to pick a color from the background, so it's not quite as obvious. Again, I want to do the same thing with this. I want to reduce the opacity of that so it's not jumping out at you. And this time, I'm going to take my blur tool and I'm going to blur it. Now, can you see this looks much more obvious now? The other option would have been for me to do the same thing and go the opposite direction. And that would be to take the blur off and make that 100%. Make sense? And then if I move this over so it touches the edge, it looks like it's growing out from the bottom of it, from that part. And I can make this bigger. And that looks pretty awesome as well. Okay? But that's what you do with the text. Does that help there? Again, I'm going to use my keyboard shortcuts to make a difference in the size of my text. And instead of trying to grab the corners and pull things around, you've just got to stop. You can't do that anymore. So you use your keyboard shortcuts this time, and that's what you do from this point forward. All right. The little learning curve here associated with this, and you'll get the learning curve as you go, and things will be good. I promise you. But that's all you have to do to that. And it makes it really easy. If you're not able to change your colors, then change your browser. All right. Okay, let's go back to this outer space again. I want to do the space thing for just a moment because I want to talk about this. The space, the NASA stuff is not, that's not in the backgrounds. Don't ever use Explorer. Explorer is not made for this kind of a platform. Just do not use Explorer. I'm just going to don't use Explorer. So I typed in NASA under my Pixabay integrations. I selected Pixabay, typed in NASA, and I've got these images. Now, thing to remember about this, I love these space images because there's so much stuff that comes with it. All right. And I want to shoot this one right here is not going to fit. The first thing it's going to do for this, because I'm using this for backgrounds. So when I use it for backgrounds, I like to use, I'll show you the custom size up here so you can see the actual size. This is 1200 by 900. That's going to be big enough to use on a background for almost anything. Okay. Almost anything. I'm going to be able to use I'm going to be able to use that 1200 by 900 for almost any background that there is available to me. But I want to make sure that I fill this entire space. Show you a little trick here that you need to remember. And that is, you see when I scroll my mouse over that little box that's got the arrow pointing out on it, that's the high density version. You see that? That's the high density version right here. So I'm going to select the high density version. This is the best quality image that I can get. And in this case, I'm going to stretch this so that it fits, because what's happening is it's containing it inside that 900 pixel height, but it is a round peg going into a square hole. And make this bigger, like this. Now watch what happens when I do this. I think you'll like this. I'm almost big enough. Now, do you see this? That's one background. Watch what happens. I'm going to slide this up. The background looks completely different, right? I'm going to reduce the opacity so it's easy to write on. It's easy to place things over the top, and it's not competing with things placed over the top of it. Y'all with me? Or are you still trying to help Darren? We need to move on. We're going to run out of time. See, now I've got this long, skinny image over here, but because I did it in high density, and remember, it's a background. This is not, I'm not trying to look for high definition in here. I've got the high definition, so I've got the best part that's possible, but I can scroll up through this. I literally can get almost 3 backgrounds out of that one image. I love this as a background. Right? These NASA images are awesome. You get some of the coolest images when you do the NASA images to create backgrounds out of. Now, make this your background. How's that look for a background? Remember, one of the things that we want to do over here is we want to have our money part hanging on a good background. We want to make that money piece hang on a really nice background. If I reduce the opacity of this, then I've got something that I can actually work with. Don't have to do anything else. This makes an awesome looking background. The money part is the logo, the tagline, and the product image. And NASA has to be royalty free because it's public. It's owned by the government, right? So your NASA images are always going to be free. But really cool stuff here to be able to create a background like this. All right. It literally does look like it's moving. So now I'm going to take an upload here. We're going to talk about the t-shirt again. Let me grab the t-shirt. I'm going to remove the background from the t-shirt, which takes me 1, 2. And it does its thing. 3 mouse clicks, and I now have the transparent t-shirt sitting on that background. Okay. I don't want it right in the middle. I can set it off to the side. Now this has got kind of an obscure background to it. You see this? You see how these concentric rings going out have kind of a different color to them and they kind of blend away. You see that? That's going to interfere with my ability to be able to drop a shadow around the outside of it, but we'll play with it and we'll see what we end up with. So let me grab the shadow. And now I'm going to have to make my shadow a little bit darker than I normally would. Put my distance out just a little bit so you can see it. Can you see the shadow? That becomes a really important question. Can you see the shadow? All right. Now, let me show you a trick. The trick is I've got the shadow going one direction because guess what? The shadow only goes one direction, right? And it's going this way. So it's obvious I've got it in the darkest color right here. But let's try something a little bit different. Let's make it white, and then that obscures the look. So we don't want to do that. Let's go back to the black. Now, watch what happens when I duplicate this. I'll move this up so that it's positioned exactly on top of that, which is really hard for me to do when the webinar is live. Now, do you see that? Now, go back over here to the shadow tool, and I'm going to flip the direction the other way. And you can see the shadow right here now makes that stand out just a little bit from the background. If we had chosen a different background and we had made that background so that it was very light. Let's go back over here and we'll select a different background this time. See the difference it makes? And what I did was I duplicated my shirt so that I could have the same size shadow all the way around it. Makes it jump out from the background. Pops out from the background. Again, that's a little dependent upon the background itself. It's a little dependent upon the color of the shirt itself, and so on. So I have now a background. That's a great way to display that shirt, correct? I have a background. If I want, I can, this is my logo. This is actually my logo tagline because this is Usign. I've included the tagline is here. Do you see that? See how subtle that is, right? This is when we look at that magic design formula, this is my background, this is my product, this is my logo, and this is my tagline. So the only thing that's missing in this case is what? What's missing? I've actually got the tagline on here. In my case, the only thing that's missing is the price, right? The only thing that's missing is the price. Folks, I'll get the replay up as soon as I can. There's more conversation about replays than there is people paying attention to the webinar. That seems to be true all the time. I've done 12 hours of webinars this week, so give me a chance to get this webinar finished first. And but you're right. I'll put on here $19.95 because somebody said that was a good price. All right. And I'll delete the rest of my text. I'm going to do this one by itself. Okay, because I want to do something specialer with it. And let me get rid of the extra space down here. All right. So here's my price. I want to make that price. We're going to make that a different color. So I have to click out of it, click back into it. And this time I'm going to make it red. And I'm going to make it really, really big like that. And then I would put something down here, cheaper by the dozen or something, okay? Does that make sense? Do you see why you hang your product on a background and how much difference the background can make? What did I want to have happen here? I want, where's my money at? It's in the product. So what do I want to do? I don't want it to blend into the background. I want it to stand out from the background. So what did I do? I just made it climb up from the background. And you should always do that. Turn it like this. Put it right here. Nope, I don't flip the image. That's a good question though, because I kind of blew through that pretty fast. This is my duplicate image here. What I did was I flipped the direction. Pull this back up here and you can see this. One of these, let me move it out of the way, you'll see it better. This shirt right here, when you look at this, the shadow is going, sorry, the shadow is going this direction. The second one, the shadow is going this direction. I flipped the direction of the shadow. Okay. But do you understand the value of this? I've literally made this, I've made this work. Make that a little bit smaller. Like that. Now, the next thing I want to do, and I got my t-shirts off just a little bit. The next thing I want to do before I go is I want to show you why these backgrounds are so cool and other things that you can use using Usign and provide other goods and services to people. I'm going to show you, every so often for my clients, I give them access because many of them are on page builders and they're looking for backgrounds, they're looking for other things that they can add to the page builder that can make that really cool. Okay, so let me show you what I do. I've taken, this is one of my, I've taken a handful of those NASA backgrounds and I created a GIF and then I bundled them together and make them available here. These are the download for your space backgrounds. But this is how I deliver that. So I've got my GIF, I've used GIFsign to take 5 or 6 of those images and create a quick little GIF with that. Does that make sense? You understand? And then down here, this is one time it didn't work. These isometric images that we have from ISO Design, these isometric images are transparent, and on the transparent background, they don't work very well inside of a GIF because they come out black. But this is another thing that's really, really popular. And you know where I got those? I just went over and created, I grabbed these emoticons right here, and I created a emoticon bundle. What do you think? That kind of a cool idea? And this is a way of providing value to your clients, giving them something that they can use. Depending upon what page builder that they're using, they can load those into their image library, and then they can grab them. They pay to be a member, and then I give those products for free. Answer to your question, Rob. All right, any other questions before we wrap up? I've got to cut this a little short so that the other webinar can begin. The NASA pics are really, really popular now because of the Mars thing. So I'd highly recommend that you take a careful look at the images that are available from NASA and then do what I've just said, like Kat said, the bundle idea. This is also a great way to display those. I just put them in GIFsign and do that. Grammarly is a demon. It's a demon. It gets in your browser, and it's awesome for fixing grammar. It's terrible for your browsing experience with your browser. All right, any other questions? If not, I'm going to wrap up so that you all can get on to the other things. But this is just a great way for you to be able to take those backgrounds, because people need backgrounds, and you have a way to get backgrounds. We've got a ton of backgrounds that are available now, and I mean a bunch of them. That's what this one was from. That background texture images over here. and a whole bunch of these. And then last week I showed you with the blend tool how to modify those. All right, anything else? Adil, I don't sell them directly. I can, and I could if I wanted to. I don't sell them directly. I include them in as a part of the membership that people have purchased. So that's how I do that. I do that part of my business a little different than everybody else does. So, all right, anything else? If there's nothing else, then I am going to cut out. Been a long week of webinars. Do your thing, Larry. All right, everybody have a wonderful weekend. I'll look forward to talking to you next week, same time, same place.